but I understand. But I want to be stringent on what I allocate because, you know, I'm challenging you like I did all the other directors a few months ago. Everybody's got to strive to save money, you know, and
I fully understand that.
that's what we're here for at the end of the day. And it's nothing against you or your department. You know, I support you guys 100%, but I'm more comfortable with giving you the 750 as opposed to $1 million. That's why I made that decision.
Mr. Chairman, Chief,
Councilman Bezerra.
the revenue side of transport, would those numbers, would our staffing levels be reflective in the revenue side as well?
Well, our revenue is actually a lot higher than we thought it would be anticipated. As far as transporting, I think it was 1.2. Now I think we average about 2.1 to 2.3 million dollars a year with transporting. Now I know it's a little less with COVID. I think Jason commented it was like 10% less this year than typical. I know that our runs are down about 2.4 run a day. So we average about 26 runs. Now we're about 24 something a day.
Part of this budget amendment is reducing the anticipated income by 200 grand. So I just wasn't sure if we just weren't able to make certain runs or if we had to call off certain runs because of staffing.
Well, we are getting not significantly less, but some less. It's working its way back than where it was in April and May, things like that. But we still have quite a few mutual aid runs. I think in the 160s that we call for each year. So.
Councilman Ramik?
So what's our expectation for retirements this year?
Well, like I said, we had 7 already retire.
Okay.
Again, I can't predict when someone is going to retire, but I do know that we have quite a few members that are able to retire.
Okay. So if they all decide to leave at one time, if they're eligible, then we can find ourselves, unless we start really finding some personnel, we're going to find ourselves in a serious situation. My other question would be, so you're saying that the additional monies that we are going to be for overtime, you can always come back to us later and we can always be advised if additional monies are needed and move that way, couldn't it?
Exactly. I'm like I've said, I'm fine with whatever I can get for overtime to do the budget for right now, because I don't like to run a department like this myself. I think I'm kind of handcuffed in some ways in hiring. I think we're working on some things to fix that. I think it would help.
And Chief, I don't want you to take this as a knock. I take it as a challenge, And like Councilman Ramik said, that we usually do 2 amendments a year. We do the 6-month and then the year end. So, there is opportunity at the next time. But like again, it's.
Oh, I have a positive attitude. I don't give up.
You always do. I appreciate it.
You gotta keep on going. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to the park improvements, unless the mayor wants to speak on that.
Just to be clear, we already face regular challenges with staffing the department. I don't know what the amount of overtime that's allocated will, in terms of timing, buy us, but I also want to give you guys a realistic expectation. I mean, we bring it forward because the trend is suggesting that, and I understand the idea of challenging, but we also don't want to get to a point where we have to take ambulances or rigs out of service. So, that day may come sooner than later because, we all fought to reopen the 3rd station that was closed when we came back in 2013 and bring back transporting. And to continue to generate that revenue, we have to have the bodies that are available to do that. So it's a unique time. Unfortunately, when everybody got hired and that one wave all at once, it creates an opportunity for a mass exodus. And we've already had 7 people retire. And as the chief indicated, it's not exclusive to the city of Taylor. Virtually every fire department in the state of Michigan is facing challenge, not only the fire department, but police departments as well, with staffing. It is very, very difficult. We have to go through the civil service process as well. So that also creates a little bit of a cumbersome process that it causes delays, but that's what we have to deal with. So it's just not as easy as it looks to, let's just hire 6 people. I wish it was, because we would have done that a long time ago.
I think we understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sorry.
No, Councilwoman Crum?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the park improvements because I do want to say that I know The residents have a lot of support for the dog park. I know we've talked about this many times before, and almost every surrounding city that surrounds Taylor has a dog park, some of them too. And a lot of people have reached out to me since they found out that this was going to be on the agenda, and some of them said they're going to email you, Cindy. I don't know if you received anything.
Okay, when she's done, we'll
Yeah,
take
and
the question.
further, I wanted to ask, and maybe this is a point that Gus can answer. So if we vote on this, removing these things from the budget amendment, then will we continue to vote on them individually as well?
No.
Okay.
No, it would be moot at that point, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, we could, but it's,
Well,
I don't.
Mr. Chairman, I think they would not, if you remove the funding, they wouldn't have a funding source, but I believe because they are on the agenda, they would still likely have to be voted on.
Okay,
Okay. That's
okay. Is anybody else?
Councilman Johnson.
Oh, Councilman Johnson.
To the administration, I'd like to know what is coming, exactly how much is coming out of the general fund? Is the dog park funded by another entity completely, or is it, what part of this is general fund? Can we do some of it and not take out of the general fund for now?
Yeah, I think the breakdown, how it was presented to City Council, was the vast majority of the bocce ball and pickleball and pavilion was funded through community development, which those are eligible expenses. I think there was a small portion being funded from general fund, so that wouldn't, I mean, by removing those, there wouldn't be no savings to the general fund, or significant savings, I should say. Previously, the TCDC had funded I think it was $243,000 for Fletcher Park. Now, they didn't earmark that and say this had to be used for a dog park or a pickleball court or whatever. They just said, we're going to make a contribution to improve the park that will bring value to the city of Taylor. That number is $243,000 that's sitting in general fund, but that comes from the TCDC. So I think the balance, the all-in total from general fund of the entire project was like $450,000. I don't know if that, I'd have to pull up the exact numbers. We can apply for some cost recovery through the DNR grant as well on a large portion of that. Previously, we did not receive the DNR grant because we had an issue with Lang Park. It was being subleased to a paintball company, and the park wasn't open, so it actually it enabled us to go through the process of receiving the grant application. But we do believe that we could capture some of that money in the future, but that would be a cost recovery type of grant.
So my next question would be is, you know, I like to see the park move forward. It's there. It's not going anywhere. What can we do to have the least impact on the general fund? Now, we can't use any of this money anywhere else as far as roads. People say, oh, I'll fix our roads. That's not what this is for. I just like to see the park move forward. I mean, we might not be able to get all of it. At least we're getting some of it.
Well, from the numbers that I was looking at, it was roughly 700,000 coming out of general fund, 600 was coming from community development. General fund money can be used on anything.
Well, not if it comes from the DCDC.
The TCDC, they didn't earmark it like the mayor said.
Yeah,
they
but
gave
it's in the
money,
general
but it's
fund.
not in there for, right. It's general fund money.
And
I thought
Mr.
it
Chairman?
was general fund for the park, though.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, so if I may.
Specifically for Fletcher Park.
Yes, so it was earmarked, $243,794 is from a prior year fund balance assignment. So that money was earmarked for Fletcher Park. Now, what that jeopardizes is in the future, any distribution that the TCDC makes, it jeopardizes that, because if we don't use that for the purpose that we asked them for, then I don't know that they're going to allocate additional funds in the future. That's one. The CDBG portion was $462,120, and that would leave, you know, approximately, it was about $500,000. I thought it was $460,000, but it was $500,000 of general fund to pay for the balance of it. So, here's the, Mr. Baum just corrected me on one item on the DNR grant. Not only did we have the issue with Lang Park, but because we lacked recreational opportunity at Fletcher Park, it really wasn't a qualified park. It was more of just open space. So this would put us in